Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Referral Exchange Networking's Business Success Fertilizer application, where every week we provide our members with some educational information that we hope they can use to further grow their business. We know that competing with big business is sometimes difficult because they have the money and the resources. And small business people, sometimes we struggle, but we do have an advantage. We can always be smarter than they are. So this week, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever seen a squirrel crossing the road? Well, let me tell you, it's a visual representation of indecision. He or she, they look and they act like they're going to cross, and then they stop. Then they look again and they run into the middle of the road and they stop. And then probably they run back, or they run back partway and stop. Their bushy tails switching back and forth and dancing from foot to foot, and then maybe they bolt back again. Either way, finally, they make a decision based on who knows what, and either they run across or they go back. And all of this occurs while your car is bearing down on them. Luckily, they usually make it across the street. Now, I'm loath to admit it, but sometimes my own decision-making too often resembles that of a squirrel. Sometimes it's because there are too many choices and I succumb to decision paralysis. I'm overwhelmed and unsure as to what to do next. Other times I don't have enough information, but usually it's because I fear the consequences of making the wrong choice. Either I don't trust myself based on my poor decisions in the past, or I fear the worst, even though the odds of the worst occurring are probably pretty low. Whether your decision-making is squirrely, like mine, or you simply wish you could be more confident or decisive, there are some ways around it. In a recent article in Inc.com by the Young Entrepreneurial Council, they've compiled a list of methods to help with decision-making. And here's some of the things they came up with. First, they say, acknowledge the outcome of indecision. Weigh the importance of your decision against the outcome you'll have if you do nothing. If the outcome is unacceptable, you'll have an incentive to make a decision. Next, use Colin Powell's 40-70 rule. If you haven't heard about that, he always used to use this when facing a difficult decision. He said, you should have at least 40%, but no more than 70% of the information required. Any less than 40%, and you're jumping the gun. Any more than 70%, and you've probably already missed the opportunity and someone else has done. Next, decide twice. I like this one. After you've reviewed the data, make a decision and write down your reasons. Then wait 24 hours before implementation. Now, it's important to do this first step in your work environment. Then in a different environment, the gym or a grocery store, whatever, ask the same question and make the decision again. Simply changing your environment will allow you to view the same information from a different perspective. Or, and this is true, you could flip a coin. Believe it or not, in certain circumstances, this may be the best way to go. If you've really tried, but you can't decide, your intuition is probably telling you that it's either not that important or neither option is superior to the other. In this case, quit beating yourself up, flip the coin and move on. And this is one of my favorites that I've used through the years. Establish a deadline. This is one of my personal favorites because you have to make sure that once you've established a reasonable deadline and that allows you to analyze the information, you stick with it. It may be a little artificial, But if you establish that deadline and then stick to the target you've set, you can make a decision. And finally, if you can, limit the number of decisions you make. This isn't always possible. However, some decisions can be passed off to someone better equipped or more knowledgeable. Others can be studied and then determined they're not important, and you can forget about them. Here's the final thought. I'm sure you've heard the old chestnut, trust your first instinct. However, in a paper published by the American Psychological Association, they reviewed dozens of studies conducted over 70 years, and they found that going with your first instinct was often not the best decision. Not only are you influenced by personal biases, but once you've made that decision, due to what psychologists call the endowment effect, you give more value to the decision than maybe it should really have. And then you're more reluctant to change your mind. So even when we fail to decide, that's our decision. The problem with that is that we've allowed circumstances to decide for us, but not always in our best interest. So if you have a decision to make it. All right, that's it for this week. I really hope that helped you figure out how you might move your business forward when you're a little bit stuck with indecision. So take care, and hopefully I'll see you all next week. This is Rich Austin, president of Referral Exchange Networking. If you want to know more about Referral Exchange Networking and how you can join, or how you can maybe start your own chapter, reach out to me, send me an email at raustin@referralexchangenetworking.com. That's exchange with an X. All right, folks, thanks a lot. See you next week.